Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface, and I'm looking across at a man who won the presidency in high school with the slogan, "Vote for me or else." That's right, friends, the former Navy SEAL. Garrett Unclebach, a man whose powers of persuasion know no end.
That one's not far from the truth.
Really? Well, is that serious? Did you threaten your way into office?
I will say I campaigned my way there, for sure.
Do you remember anything about it?
I'd have to think about it. I remember I had T-shirts with my face on them.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually went hard for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought.
If I thought about it here for a minute, I'm trying to. I can see the shirt. I just don't remember what it had on.
Man, that's a deep cut. That's the kind of shirt that your wife would get a hold of, and like somehow it would make its way into just like some social media post of her walking around the house with your face on her shirt.
Well, we have a tremendous guest today.
Oh, yes, we do.
We have a return guest, Mr. Rod Vilhauer, someone who's been a voice of wisdom in my life.
And a voice of velvet, for that matter. Yeah. If it doesn't work out for you in what you're stepping into, Rod, you can always just do voiceovers, man.
It doesn't sound that way in my head, but
Trust me, I work with voiceover artists, and for my production company, I promise you could get voiceover work. That's not even a joke. I don't think it's really what you want to do.
Probably not on Rod's horizon.
I was going to say, yeah, I don't think it is what you want to do. All right, but we've got Rod on with us. If you don't know who Rod is, because Rod, since we had you on last, it was like, I think it was all like 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago that we had you on.
It was right around episode 100.
It was 120. It was episode 120 we had you on. We're now on 290. This is 290. And but in that time, we've grown a ton. So we got a lot of new followers, which we're so grateful for. God is using the podcast. That's the big story, is that God's using it. It's nothing to do with me and Garrett. It's just a picture of what happens when you're faithful and God puts his hand on something. But it's exciting to have you on. The reason I say all that is if you haven't heard Rod's original episode, we were up hunting. Is when I shot my first deer. I was listening to it in preparation for this. And Rod's story is amazing. Quick recap if you haven't listened to that episode. Rod started a company with funding from Dennis Rodman, of all people, built up to $400 million. That was per year. $400 million was yearly revenue, had huge success. It all fell apart. But in that, you very much stayed close to God and found like a new depth in your relationship with God in the breaking. And I loved what you came out of that with, because you were a guy who got humbled, but you came out realizing what really matters with clear core values, a deep commitment to the Lord, and it actually got you to press into the Word more. And so it's an amazing story. There's so many takeaways. If you're a person that wants to build a business, that just wants to hear some life wisdom from a guy who's got a lot of it, great episode.
And like I was saying, Rod's been a voice of wisdom in my life for the last 20 years. And I can say some of the dream that I have today of the way that I see my life has been influenced by Rod, because I've watched Rod since I was a little boy. I knew the $400 million a year Rod. I knew Rod at his best, at his worst, and the incredible man that he is today.
Yeah. And so Rod has now joined us back again, and you'll understand why. So when we had you on last time, Rod, so you were 63 when we had you on last time. I remember, because I listened to it, and you were talking about all the stuff you've done. Like, for most people, if you built a business at $400 million and you still have some property and assets and stuff, I think a lot of people be going, you know what? It's been a good run. I've learned some things in business. Maybe I'll mentor some people, step back, maybe do some investing and things like. But at this point, a lot of people are going like, "What? How can I take a trip around the world with my wife and just kind of enjoy myself?" But you said to us, this was exactly what you said. You said you didn't believe you had stepped into what God totally created for you, which I thought was so interesting. Like, I love that thought process.
Not a lot of people saying that at 63.
No, but dude, that's how we want to live, G. Like, right. I don't ever, like, retirement to me is just
that
not.
That is the impossible life.
Yeah, retirement to me is just not a thing. So you're now running for the mayor of Frisco, which, if you don't know what Frisco, Texas, Frisco is the city we live in. It's where the Cowboys have their practice facilities.
Why don't you let Rod talk about Frisco?
Dude, I've been here for 5 years, G. I'm pretty sure I know. Yeah, G. No. So you're running for mayor. How did this happen? Tell for people that don't know Frisco, tell them about it. And how did you come to run for mayor, Rod?
So when I got here in 1986, there were 2,800 people in Frisco. And, I was going south, coming in from Sherman. I was doing some work up there. I drove past Frisco, got into Plano, saw the skyline south, bunch of buildings. I turned around and went back. In Frisco, I saw combines, tractors, cattle. I thought, you know what, this is far enough south. So I stopped there. But since then, of course, now Frisco's 250,000.
Wow.
It's the 12th largest city in Texas. Collin County is now the 7th largest county in Texas by people. So And when we talked 2 years ago, mayor would have never even been on my radar.
Yeah.
And but it's really only about 3 or 4 months ago. And what happened was Keela
Yeah.
said, Rod,
Keela's, everyone on the show knows who Pastor Keith is. Keela's his daughter.
Right. There
yes, married to Cole Ambrose. Yeah. So she said, Rod, tomorrow night they're having a city council meeting. I'm sorry, a school board meeting, and they're talking about taking the 10 Commandments out of the schools in Frisco. Huh. She goes, you need to go down there. I said, okay. So I went, and the lady said, are you going to speak? I said, well, I don't think so. She goes, go ahead and sign up. And after I heard the first 2 people saying, yeah, I don't think it's necessary. We need to take him down. I stood up, and I just told him who I was. I said, I've been here 40 years, and part of the founding, hung out with the founding fathers of this city, George Pureford, Dr. Reedy, who built these great schools. I can remember he'd go into a school any given morning, gather the kids, and pray with them, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now we're talking about taking the 10 Commandments out of school. So I said my piece. I was walking out the door, and a lady runs and grabs me by the arm. She goes, who are you? I said, well, I'm Rod.
That's a great question.
She said, you've been here 40 years? I said, yes. And she said, you need to run for mayor. We need your help.
Huh.
And that was Stephanie Elad. Jared, her husband, is one of the conservative guys that just got elected to our council.
Okay.
She's a wonderful lady. And that was the first time the word was put in my head. After that, I don't know, multiple calls. People, I would just run into people. And they go, hey, we need your help. Hey, we need your help. It was like just a wave. So I talked to Mike Escobedo, my dear friend, and I said, man, I need to talk to Pastor. He said, yep. So Pastor Keith went to dinner with us, and we went to Three Forks and sat down.
Praise the Lord.
Everything good happens.
Yeah, for real.
And started talking. And about 2 minutes, he goes, yes, you need to run for mayor.
Yeah.
We need to fill every seat in this city with godly men. And then the second thing he said, now I'm taking off my pastor's hat, and this is to you personally from me. Don't screw this up. Right? God's giving you another chance.
That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Yes, sir.
great word. Okay,
Yeah,
I got it. Anyway, but, and from there, I started praying about it, and I said, God, I'm always one, I need a word.
Yeah.
And the word comes from the word. When you're in the word, what does Pastor Keith say? When you need a word, you'll get a word.
Yeah.
Right? So the first one was, of course, when right after Moses died, Joshua was ready to go in, and the Lord came to him and said, as I was with Moses, so shall I be with you.
Yeah.
I'm going, uh-oh. That's about all I need right there, but multiple places in the Word he led me to. So
Right.
I think there were 7 or 8 I wrote down.
Yeah. Now, what I love about this, for people out there listening, we talk about purpose more than anything. It is like, it's funny. I haven't told you.
You could call this the Purpose Podcast.
Yeah. I mean, there's
The Impossible Life is a better name, but it would fit.
Yeah. Johnny did a visual. He's mapping our entire content for us. I haven't told you this, G, but he gave me a visual diagram where it gives
purpose is right at the center.
Yeah, it is. Purpose and discipline were 2 of the biggest things, and like every single episode, it links all of our content. It's really interesting. But anyways, yeah. So purpose was a big one, and this is what I want for people out there, because the purpose question eats at people. And we say purpose is when what's in your heart matches what's in your hand, right? Like God will give you a dream, and what breaks people is they're like, oh, this is what I really want to do, but what's in their hand is their their 9 to 5 or whatever it may be.
And like we talk about at Mighty Men all the time, it takes endurance to go through the journey, because so oftentimes it's decades between what's in your heart meeting what's in your hand.
Right.
And yesterday, just sitting in the Mighty Men, as you were speaking, of course, on purpose, and you were talking about the pain, right?
Yeah.
So it just came to me even sitting there, but everyone wants the promises.
Yeah.
And they've got the promises written all over the walls, and they've got them on their refrigerator.
Yeah.
Got them marked in their Bible. Here's what came to me, is that your purpose, you have to go through the pain, and you got to go through the struggle, and because that's where God creates the purpose in you.
Right.
You can't understand the purpose without pain. When the purpose is ready to be birthed, then the promises come to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so good.
But for God to build the man in us that he wants us to be, it takes fire. It takes deep water. It takes all of it.
Like, why did God take 20 years to give a son to Abraham?
Yeah.
When he could have, if God wanted to be God, he could have said, well, your wife's actually pregnant right now and you'll have a son next month. Like,
Right.
whoa, what?
Yeah. Whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen. Yeah, exactly. He's like, we'll just tell you about it.
The 20, you see that. So, I mean, and all the people that God works in, he spends way more time working on them than he spends working through them.
Yeah. So
exactly
help
right.
me understand this, Rod, because like I was curious to hear. I didn't know any of how you had how you'd gotten to the point of being mayor. I actually thought it was going to be Pastor Keith told you that you should run. That's what I suspected. It was obviously nothing like that. So did you ever have any dream in your heart that would resemble what you're looking to step into? Like because you know if someone came up to me and said, hey, you should be whatever. If it wasn't in my heart, I'd be like, nah, you're wasting your time. So the fact that somebody said that to you, and you're actually like, yeah, maybe I should take some action. What's the dream in your heart that like?
Well, you know, 2 years ago at 63, I was in a desert.
Yeah.
Actually, for the last 18 years. Now, I've done things, built Vilhauer, but in my heart, I was in the desert, knowing that there's something more. God, you have created me for something more.
He's been preparing for the next thing for a while.
Yeah. Yes. So, and when God's ready, I mean, when he wants to open that door will open and you'll see it. But at that time, 2 years ago, nothing. I did not. If you'd asked me I was going to run for mayor 2 years ago, I'd have said, no, have no desire to. And really, right now, to be mayor, after I've been to these city council meetings and watched this show, I have no desire. The title mayor means nothing to me, but here's the deal. Our community right now, Frisco, needs leadership.
Yes,
big
it
time.
does.
Right.
Or you give it another 9 years of liberal whatever is going on, it'll be hard to ever take back. Right. So I don't even know the depth of all of it yet, but every day I learn more. And I just know this is the purpose. Now, how long as mayor? Is it 3 years? Is it 9 years? I don't know. But I know right now this is what I'm called to do.
Right.
It's crazy how you can be one day you're not sure, and then when God makes it clear, it drops that in your spirit, it's there.
I'm sure you're just scratching the surface. Now, you know this. You know how when you're thinking about firing somebody and you finally fire them, and then everyone comes and tells you why you made the right decision afterwards and all this. You had like a hint of something, and then everyone, after you make the termination, comes and gives you all this information.
Yep.
When you step into being mayor, you're just scratching the surface right now. I'm sure everyone's going to come forward with, well, now that you're here, you need to know about this, and you need to know about this.
That's a great point, G, because it really is. People need to see a forerunner, right? Because it's like the vast majority of people will stay silent about something or they'll talk about it in private. And then when someone goes in and they're willing to take the hits publicly, they're like, finally, somebody said what I've been thinking. It's not just me. So that's an interesting point. So let me shift to this because I'm always curious about how purpose unfolds, right? And like God's always working in ways that we don't understand. So last time we talked about you building Rodman to 400 million and it failing. And we always say, you see purpose looking backwards. I think it's so interesting that you said you've been in a desert. Capture that, guys. 18 years. Some of us are like, have a hard time being like, what? Like, you know, it's not going to happen next week. And you're saying you've been in a desert for 18 years, not having any idea what it is. Then God presents this. And now you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like it's a must do.
Think about being in the desert for 18 years when you're a guy who's had as much success and financial prosperity as Rod does. Such an incredible network with, you know, folks that in Rod's network are people that in a lot of our community, people would love to just know that person.
Right.
They love Rod. So having all this ability, all this network, and still feeling like you're in a desert.
You know, it's crazy. Of course, Barry and I we're good friends. We still have some assets.
Barry's who you started Rod.
Yes, very rich. He's now RPM.
Oh, right.
I mean, look at that company.
Huge business.
Okay.
He has made tons and tons of money. And, you know, he and I talked here, I don't know, a few weeks ago. And I said, Barry, you remember, you know, we sowed into our church. You gave.
Yeah.
Because half of what those
That's
utilities, all that was him. So I said, there's 2.5 million. Easy. And I said, look what God has done. But for me, Barry went on, and I just told him, hey, go take this crew and go build a company. I stayed and cleaned up Rodman, did it the right way, put it to bed, paid every bill, finished every job. But for me, that's when God pulled me out and put me in my desert. Because even with Vilhauer, you know, the alignments there, after Jerry died, Mike Smith, it's another story. But everything I tried to do It just didn't work. And it was just a test and a test. And just like Garrett said, I go, now, wait a minute. I've done this once. And, you know, people say, once you've made it, no matter if they take it away, you make it again because you know how to do it.
Right.
It just and it kept me cash tight. Of course, the investments we had that I had to keep feeding that are now going to pay off. But I never had enough cash to just jump out and build because by the time I finished Rodman, I had burnt about $12 million of my personal cash to do it right. So here I am for 18 years. It's like, God, what in the world? And of course, Pastor Keith is looking at me like, when you gonna get after it, boy? Right. You have no idea. I'm plowing like a sled dog, but I just won't go. So
tilling the ground, but nothing's coming out.
That's it. And of course, I kept sowing, and really sowed probably more. What's the word? Gave over and above in a percentage that I never have, even in these tough times.
Yeah,
you know?
Rod is one of the most generous people I know.
Right.
But
saying something.
And everyone tells me, man, you got seed in the ground, it's coming. I'm going, yeah, it is. I know. Malachi, 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, 16. I'm going, God, I'm 65 years old. When Abraham, I'm starting to feel like, where's the baby?
Right.
But all of a sudden, so in this moment, that investment it's taken Barry and I, we've been feeding it 19 years. I'm not going to talk about what it is, but it is something that will. I can ride off into the sunset forever.
Right.
Okay. That is coming to closure right now. Is the minute that I stepped into this purpose, all of a sudden they came back.
Huh.
Right.
Interesting.
We'll have a contract in a week. So it's
I've been praying for that with you for a decade.
Yes.
Wow.
Lots of people have. And it's just like even that deal, when it's not time, we had 8 of the largest companies in the world that came and made offers. And okay, let's go. All of them could close with cash, right? Didn't have to wait on finance or anything. All of a sudden they start just going away. And the number dropped to a number like Barry and I, we're not selling for that. Well, ultimately when the time was right, figured out what happened there, and the pretty girl at the prom is the company right across the road, right? There's no reason. It fits their asset base perfectly. Here they come.
Right. So you've been hearing no. You felt like every place in your life you've been getting closed doors, and then you're waiting patiently, and you're in this desert trusting God, and now suddenly you're seeing things open. And so that was my question. How are you? Because I was going to say, how are you seeing the lessons learned and the connections made lead you to this point? Because I always find like we see what God does looking backwards. We see purpose. We connect the dots backwards, is what Steve Jobs said for purpose.
Yeah.
How are you seeing some of the? I mean, because you, like to Garrett said, we don't ever drop the names, but like people on here would know who we're talking about if we start talking about some of the people that know you. You call them, text them, and they respond.
Yes.
So you've got all these connections, all these things that it would seem like, Rod, how are you not thriving? What are you seeing looking back now? How that's all playing to this?
Before you answer this question on lessons learned, I want to just prompt you to also tie into here one of my favorite stories. I just want to give this as a gift to our listeners. One of my favorite stories is the story of you and your brother sowing in that drought year and what happened.
Yes.
Will you tie that story into this?
So here, and let me just say this. When God's got you in that desert, whatever your training time is, and he knows exactly where to put you, where he work you over. Right. He'll put you there. No, everyone can talk to you. Everyone can encourage you. Everyone can give you words of wisdom, the whole deal. But you are in your desert and you know it. But that's where God deals with you. So my brother Clark, the farmer, right? And there's so much the supernatural correlation when it comes to farming. Jesus used it all the time. Mm-hmm. But that one year, it was a drought year. And, of course, we're cutting wheat that's 35 bushel. It's terrible. He's out there, and he's sowing in this dust. You see the dust 2 miles away. Farmers are driving by about 20 miles an hour. They're watching him. He's on a 4-row planter planting 160 acres. That's a half a mile one way, 12-foot wide strip. Okay,
oh, wow.
Running daylight till dark, midnight, the whole deal. They're going, Clark, that seed's never going to come up. There's not water within a foot of it. He goes, it'll rain someday. Huh. They say, well, when it does, it's just going to, plaster it all in because it just silts over the top. He goes, that's all right. I'll plant it again. And if it doesn't come up, I'll plant it again. Huh. Because if you don't sow, you never get a chance to reap. And they are now, Clark and Landon, my nephew, they are planting 3 or 4 different seasons in the year in a dry land area that everybody thinks is a desert. And they're growing crops. They've set a state record with mung beans, a state record with milo twice, 2 years in a row, smoking everyone, and nobody can figure it out. But Clark said, all we need now is a drill, a spray rig, and a combine, right? Because they're no-till. So he's building the soil. It's just crazy stuff. But that is a principle for anyone, no matter where no matter what it looks like around you. You keep sowing.
Right.
And the test, the test in your desert, it builds your faith. Now, either you're going to move forward and your faith is going to grow, or you're going to sit still and you're going to sit still. So the challenge to me in anyone's life, no matter, and Garrett says, I don't care what you see at 6 foot above the ground, you're horizontal. You got to go vertical because everything, the wisdom, everything God's doing, vertical. One night I was taking the trash out right after Robin went down. I'm going, whoo. I was just absorbing the fact that the train is headed straight for the bottom.
Right.
And it was a tough, tough time. I'm taking the trash out about midnight, and God just spoke to me and said, look up. And I looked up, all these stars, and it was just absolutely beautiful. God said, get your eyes off the ground and look at me. Every day, you look to me. Seek the Lord. How many times in the Bible does it? I mean, everywhere. Seek the Lord. So, read this morning on Asa, if you seek me, you'll be found by me.
Yeah.
If you ignore me or whatever, you're going to lose, right? So anyway, it's just your desert time. It's the most important time of your life because if you don't get it there, you can't fulfill the purpose for which God created you.
Right.
Right? You got to get it. And those are lessons. Pastor Keith said what he said all the time, learn your lessons. Those are lessons that create a foundation in you that nothing can shake. After what I've been through these 18 years, bring it.
Really?
Right? Yeah. In fact, it's exciting. Bring the problem bring the challenge. Whatever the challenge is, let's go.
When you've prepared for 18 years for something, I mean, this is, when you look at why God does what he does, you're like, man, why would you leave me here for this long?
Right.
Well, it correlates to what he's setting you up for. Rod spent in 18 years. I've watched Rod grow. Rod's always been incredibly wise, but look at some of the people we know, like Big Norm, that Rod has had such a big impact on his life. Who Rod's been over the last 10 years has been spiritually developing him into, his spiritual kingship to prepare him for the season that he's in.
Right. And so you're saying that, like, the things that you've learned in the desert. And real quick, just to close the loop on Garrett's favorite story, did it rain or what happened to your?
Finish that.
Yeah,
because I was like, you said they set records. I'm like, hang on, we missed something.
So about probably been 3-4 months later. This is in the middle of the summer too. All of a sudden it started raining. Clark sent me pictures, and this was sesame, which normally gets maybe chest high.
Right.
But this stuff was over a foot over the top of his head. Unbelievable.
And this is a year that it's a drought and nobody else is sowing.
So he's sowing, and he's not only is he sowing seed, he's having everybody that knows a ton about farming, probably more than him because they're more experienced. So all the old heads are saying, "What are you doing? You're wasting your seed and your time and all your gear, all your equipment. You're running your equipment,
burning fuel.
Yeah, you're burning fuel. You're just basically burning money." And they go, he says it's going to rain. They go, "Well, if it rains, it's going to wash it away." He goes, "I'll sow again." And then they go, well, even then. And he goes, I would sow again. So he's
That's called speaking over your seed.
That's exactly right. And so then this rain comes. It doesn't go how any of the farmers think. And he gets, not only does he get a great return, he gets an exponential return, is what you're saying, that it grew. I mean, if it's a foot high overhead from your chest, what is that, like an extra 50% or
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that's measured by the pound because sesame is like a little, it's a sesame seed on a bun. But it was crazy, unbelievable. And they've done it now multiple times. And I don't care if it's with milo, mung beans, 1,100 pounds per acre. And the guy from Kansas came down and he said, "Hey, I want to do an article. It's irrigated land, right?"
Yeah.
And they go, "No." He goes, "What?" He goes, "No, this is dry land. We wish we had." Clark said, "Just give me irrigation 1 year. Let me show you what I can grow."
So this is like old school, like Israelite farming of like,
They
if
put
the
it
rain
down
doesn't, if
and
the
they
rain
need it
doesn't
to
come,
rain.
we're not gonna profit.
So there's a principle. You are totally dependent on God for the rain.
Oh man.
So that's where God wants us to get, right?
Yes.
Total dependence. The word loyal, the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole world to see those who are loyal to him.
Yeah.
That word it would be the Hebrew, right?
Yes, sir. 2 Chronicles 16:9.
Yep. It is total dependent.
That's
God wants us totally dependent.
That's such a message. People want to irrigate their land and then pray for rain.
That's no, that man. We could just
We want control.
Yeah.
Men want control. Why do most men want to be financially stable? Look how many men have gone through our church. As soon as they make it big, they've never returned. Didn't tithe, walked out, and never came back because we don't want to have to depend on God. It's our flesh. It's our pride.
That's right.
And God wants us, what'd you say, Garrett? Surrendered.
Yeah.
Until you're willing to just surrender and say, God, it's all you. Whatever you want to do, that's what I'm in for. And that's where I got in those 18 years. He stripped all pride.
Right. Man, I know why you love that so much, G. Because there's so much to that. Because, like, why not just take the easy road and irrigate it? Then you don't even have to worry about it. Because exactly what you said, then it's certain. So these guys are they're getting exponential record-setting crops, not using the technology that's available to them, 100% trusting that God's going to bring the rain in a dry land.
And the belief and the speaking over it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and so what Clark did, Clark said, you know what? I figured it out. Because when you plant wheat, you plant in the fall, September. It's June of the next year before you harvest. And Clark's going, we're missing a rain season here, so I'm going to plant 4 times a year and give God every opportunity to bring rain on 1, 2, 3 of these crops. So you got to think that where you planting your seed, right? And how many times? That's why Solomon said, "Get up, sow in the morning, sow at noon, sow in the afternoon." You never know, right?
In today's mentality, people, they wait for the forecast. They're like, "Oh, it looks like it's going to rain next week. Now we'll sow." And for thousands of years, it's not the way. People couldn't do that. By the time you see the clouds on the horizon, it's too late. You can't get your seed in the ground.
Now, most people,
great point.
I don't know that we have many farmers. We have people all over the country. So we may have some people farming. One of my favorite stories, there's a lady who listens to us loud on a speaker while she works in the forest to scare away bears. Which, like, we got this is one of my favorite emails we've ever. I read it. I just sent it immediately to Garrett. I said, "Your voice is now scaring away bears." It was just an amazing story. So I have no idea where people listen to this. But man, for I don't think we have a ton of farmers. And I just think about what sowing seed actually is in your day-to-day life. It's your words, your thoughts, and your actions that you put into everything, whether that's you're trying to build a vision that you have, whether it's for business or an organization, you're trying to build a family, you're trying to build yourself better, you're just trying to make something that is not currently, and you're speaking to it as if it was.
Yep. And Nick, everything that you're saying right there to me is perspective.
Right.
It's your perspective. Pastor Keith talks about everything you look at, depending on your perspective, is how you'll see it.
Right.
Right. So everything you just said, your words, your thoughts, your drive, all that is part of your perspective. And the only way perspective change is Romans 12.
Right.
He talks about every day, right? That you present your body as a living sacrifice. That's the first scripture that I was taught. I had to memorize at Liberty Baptist College.
Oh, right.
And it was in the King James. I beseech you, brethren, therefore by the mercies of God, that you present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
Yeah.
Right? And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's where the word changes your perspective.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I'm glad you prompted him for that, G. That to me, we're gonna keep going because there's so much more I want to draw out of you, Rob. But that is an amazing story. Really capture that, guys. Oh. Anyways. Okay. So you're seeing these lessons. You've now been hardened for the battle. You're saying, bring it on. So I want to focus a little bit about you running for mayor, but also there's a lot. We're going to tap into a lot of things as far as what the Bible says biblically about politics and about the church's involvement in government and everything. But just this is kind of for my own curiosity, and I'm guessing for everybody else out there who's never run for political office. So if you want to run for mayor, like how do you even get your name in the hat for that? You know what I mean? Like because you go from this lady saying, "Hey, you should run for mayor." Like if someone said that to me, I'd be like, cool. Like, is there a website? Like, what do you do?
You go to the city, they give you a piece of paper, and you sign up, and you have to sign up by a certain date,
right?
And then you're a candidate. If you get 1 vote or 1 million votes, but it's all up to you to get there. You know what I find amazing? It was one of the very first pages when you sign up to run for mayor, is you sign a contract that you will not take this position for capital.
Right.
Gain, right.
Okay.
For personal financial gain.
Then you sign a statement that says that.
That's right.
Oh man.
Everyone that runs for an office does, but
throughout all of government.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, keep going.
All of you guys know what's going on. So even what I couldn't believe, it's at the local level.
Yeah, it happens at the Senate and Congress level, but it's so shocking that it's happening at the mayoral level.
Right.
But it is I don't know. It's just a way of life, and I don't know that that was just a thought that. Anyone can run for an office, and really, we need to gather people from our house, from the kingdom, that will get and sit in these seats. I mean, our city council, it needs help right now. It's a 4-2 deal.
Right.
Right. So our existing mayor, he's going to cram everything he can through there because it's a highway.
Right.
Can't stop him.
When you say 42 deal, what do you mean?
4-2
Oh,
vote.
right. Oh, okay, right. There's six people. Yeah.
You have six, and the only time the mayor votes is when there's a tie.
So what you're saying is right now in Frisco, there's liberals have the controlling vote, right? Because they've got 4 people to 2.
Which is probably going to be shocking news to certain people who live in Frisco.
Yeah, because we live in a conservative. I mean, anybody who's not from Texas, and Texas is by far our biggest listening as far as in the United States, and so I think that would be shocking for anyone who lives outside Austin, because the thought process, even if you're outside Texas, is like Texas is a red state, and then you got, as I've heard it said, it's the blueberry is Austin, the blueberry in the tomato soup, right? But it's actually it's not just Austin. It's San Antonio, you got big pockets of Houston, and so like even though Frisco votes red presidentially, you're saying that they've got blue people in.
Oh well, so it's about a 60-40 right now. I mean the blue is growing,
right?
And here's what happens: is the reds. So there are 138,000 registered voters in Frisco out of 250,000 total people. You know how many vote? In this mayoral election, they're saying this will probably be the highest vote ever. Maybe 30,000 people will vote.
Wow.
And that's both sides of the fence.
Barely 10%.
That's correct.
Before we move on, I just want to say this about Rod. Rod is the type of political candidate that represents what a political candidate should be. If you go back to the beginning of our country, what our founding fathers were, these were people who had fought hard for their communities, who had been successful in their communities, and did not need to benefit from political office, and it was actually a form of sacrifice. These were the people, it's like, well, back then, you're living in Virginia, it's like, well, you got to go to Washington, D.C., your farm's probably not going to do as good while you're here, right? While you're not here. Right, but you're so successful, you're such a great representation of this community that you can absorb the sacrifice to not be hand at your own plow and go represent us. That's what politicians are supposed to be, people who represent the community, people who've been successful in the community, and people that the community would say, we want this man to represent us. That's what politicians are supposed to be. It's not who politicians are today. And it's a man like President Trump whose net worth went down while he was in office, not up, which is what happens to 99% of political office holders, that their net worth increases. You want a man like Rod who's already been successful and who represents the community.
Yeah, very well said.
You know the word public servant.
Yeah, that's the term.
Exactly. And what do we talk about every day in our lives as leaders? Servant leadership, right? So it's the self-service for most of the people. It's really pitiful. What they're doing, I mean, and it's wide open. It's in the public eye. They know, but they're bold, and it's like, get all you can all you get, sit on the can, and poison the rest.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So what are they doing? So right, because I was going to say the mayor. Is it right that they pay you $18,000 a year to be mayor? Is that right?
I wish. Well, yeah, I guess about $1,500 a month.
$1,500 a year. A month, yeah.
Yeah,
$1,500. You said that, and I was like, I'm sorry, did you leave a zero off that? So you get $1,500 a month to be the mayor. There's kids at In-N-Out that are laughing at you like, man, you need to come work here. You can make more money. So what's going on, man?
That pays my electric bill. That's about
right. That's exactly my point. So how is, like, what's happening?
Well, because it's supposed to be, as Garrett said, when you take those offices, you come to serve your community. You serve your county, your state, the country. So it's not there to make. You're not there. It's not a paying position. You actually, I'm going to tell you, you go back and look at the guys that wrote the Declaration of Independence. They were believers. They were wealthy. They lost their farms, their houses, their families. A lot of them died. They paid a serious price. It's just like our servicemen. I watched President Trump yesterday when they brought those 6 people home, and man, makes me emotional. That they say, well, just 6, but it's 6 people that gave their lives, young men, women. It's crazy. So there is no respect for the office anymore. I mean, if you become mayor of a city, really what the mayor is, and I was told once, he's the CEO of the city. It's not. City manager runs the city, all departments, police, fire, everything. Your city council are the decision makers. They vote everything in, everything out. Only time the mayor votes is when there's a tie. Really what the mayor is, he is the liaison between the people and the city government. And everyone I talk to, I mean, the first thing they want transparency and they want truth. I mean, this current, whatever you want to call it, they've got words for it, but they do everything behind closed session. They don't share information. This whole Richwood, a giant, it's mostly Indian. They came in and approved 1.2 million square foot on 80 or 100 acres of warehouses right beside them. Never got to go through the process, never explained nothing.
That's very non-standard for how, especially a city the size of Frisco, for how developments are managed.
I mean, even when I sit on the P&Z, if you're a developer, you come in, the planning and zoning looks at it, they check it all out. You can have people ask questions then. There's a time for the public to ask questions and get answers. Then it goes to the city council. This thing got shoved through. They didn't even know it. An SUP was given to it. And
there's zoning that intends use, but then projects of a certain size that have such an impact on the community's supposed to have the ability to say, like, well, this does fit intended use, but what you're going to do with it would have such a dramatic impact on the community that's going to take us in a direction we don't want the community to go. People are supposed to have the opportunity to say that.
Right. So how are they doing? So what you're basically saying is that people are being given preferential treatment to do huge developments with public land, or that land that impacts the entire community, and they're shoving it through in private sessions where people have no knowledge about it. And it's like, oh, hey, this is happening. It's like, and that's how are they doing this?
Because they're circumventing the process that's supposed to happen. It's no different than it has to go through the House and the Senate, and right. They're bypassing everything and they're taking it to the press, and he signs off.
I'll say what Rod shouldn't say. There's no reason to do that, unless you're incentivized otherwise.
Right.
Great answer, Garrett.
Okay. So things are going on right now that where basically people are being dishonest, and they're getting their palms greased to make things happen for local developers and people who have interests.
That's correct.
Okay. So that was going to be one of my questions. Like you said, you're learning things every single day. Can you share some of the things that you've learned about local politics, like as you've been campaigning and going down this trail?
Well, one is what we just talked about. I can't, I've been to several city council meetings now, and you got people coming in there, and of course, it's public comment time where anybody can come up to the podium, they can say whatever they want to say. Well, you've got some folks that are absolutely attacking the city council, the mayor, and the other night it was 10:40 when I went home. They hadn't even got to the business of the city yet. They're up at midnight, 1 o'clock, trying to get something done. So part of it, I understand why they take it to closed session. Otherwise, they'll never get it done. So just the way the whole city council, the way the city is, it's divided. A lot of people are definitely, they feel like it's an invasion with the Indian population, not assimilation. We are going to definitely have to work on unity, and just we got a lot of challenges in the city. But the first thing that needs to be straightened out is this is how a city's supposed to run. We're going to run this city the right way, and we're going to do things the right way. In other words, we're going to give due process. We're going to allow people, if they want to question a development, they have every right to come question it. We have to prove that up to them. Now, there's sometimes, like multifamily zoning, there's a ton of it in this town. Nobody wants it. But here's the deal. If you own that land and it has multifamily zoning on it and the city tries to take it away, it's law. You own it. The reason you bought that is because it has multifamily zoning.
Right.
And it's the price per foot is high because of the density on it. So what our CDC is doing are meeting with these guys when they actually bring a development in for that zoning. I just talked to the CDC, and they actually took one that had 800 units on it, and they brought in, they offered impact fees. They picked up some of the infrastructure the CDC, our Community Development Council, paid for, and this guy cut the units to 400. it's a money deal, right? I mean, if he paid so much per square foot, he's got to build what that square footage requires. But there's multiple ways that we can fix, and the more I'm beginning to understand what we have, the assets we have to work with, we can do that.
Both of these things reflect who Rod is and why he's the right person. The answer to your question, Nick, is leadership. Right. Like when we have a lot of people coming here that aren't necessarily from here, how are you supposed to deal with that? Well, a leader's supposed to drive the community standards and continue to uphold and voice the community standards. Right. What you don't want to think about living in a home, let's say you got some big 50,000 square foot home and 14 families from all these different places all moving at the same time. That's going to be chaos.
Right.
Now, what you should have is, if you have someone who's been running that home for a long time and new people come in, you say, well, just so you know, this is how this home runs. And it's going to be a great environment for everybody because this is the way that it's run. These are our standards. And if you abide by that, then you're going to have a great experience here, and it doesn't disrupt what anybody else has been doing. And the same thing with the business that Rod's talking about with the development. It is a huge deal, right, to try and get someone to change a zoning from 800 for a parcel to 400 for a parcel. And that would be a benefit to the community to bring that down. But only a leader can have that decision, can have that conversation with them and get a developer to want to do that.
Right.
You know, here's my take. You don't offer me any money because I won't take it. I'm not for sale. I'm not for rent. I don't need your money. If you're a developer, you bring your project to this city. If it matches the zoning and you're building it quality, it's good for our city. Doesn't impact traffic that it's going to kill an area or whatever. We're going to do traffic studies. We're going to understand it. But if it's right, come build it. We welcome you here. I'm pro-growth. I'm not shut this thing down, but let's bring we need top 500 companies, top 100. Talking to the EDC, they are courting like 100 of those companies right now to come to Frisco because tax base. Let me give you an example. When AT&T leaves Dallas, it's $62 million a year just in property taxes Dallas is going to lose. It also will devalue the property around them by $2.87 billion.
Wow.
Now think when they come to Plano, we couldn't get them, and I've talked to several people, but they wanted to be by JCPenney because of Legacy West, and they wanted 54 acres. Well, when they build that site, can you imagine what the county will appraise 54 acres worth of new buildings? That's probably $100 million in property taxes on one location for the city. So that's what we need to do, and we need to bring quality companies. And Hershey, they're about to move their headquarters from Pennsylvania and build by the Star right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, those kind of companies. So it builds tax base. Also, people can live here and work here. All those companies south of 121, 90% of the executives live in Frisco and drive there. So all the taxes are being paid to Plano. We're providing homes.
Right.
But it's wonderful. I mean, hey, come on. But let's build those types of businesses here. The young people, they really love like a Legacy West, where you live there, you eat there, and you work there. It takes traffic off the street.
There's a really great project that was supposed to happen in Frisco that Rod's going to bring back to life.
Finally, the mix is they've started. And what are they building right now? 2 high-rise multifamily, but under that is commercial and restaurants and all that. It'll have a Sprouts there. And so
it's just like Legacy West,
right?
Yes. In Frisco.
For those who don't know what Legacy West is, so Legacy West is this beautiful place down in Plano where you can go down. We go down there to eat all the time. It has amazing restaurants, like all top end shopping. Tesla have a store there. Like you got like Lululemon. I'm trying to think who else is there. Rolex. Like basically, you can just go down there, and if you have a car that plays loud music, obviously you have to drive up and down the strip. That's what always happens. But like you can go down there. It's safe. It's clean. It's beautiful. You can go down with your family. You can take your wife for a date. And it is a destination place. People go down there. They spend time. They eat. They shop. And they've got this big unit where you can sit around and watch live music. And there's a bunch of different restaurants, really highly concentrated, that you could literally go spend 3 hours with your friends, eat some Mexican food, and then walk 10 feet from where you got the Mexican food, get some ice cream, and then you could walk like 15 feet over and get some like really good coffee. So it's just the kind of place you can go be, and it keeps people in there.
It's AAA luxury retail.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett. That's what happens. That's like a summary of our podcast. I take 7 sentences, and Garrett just like says 1 sentence. Dang it.
His mind has been trained that way. Get to the point real quick.
I know, man. I honestly really appreciate it. Okay, so Rod, and because I'm getting the picture, I'm like learning here. So you said that the mayor liaises between the people and the council, and like make sure that things are happening in a way that serves the people. So you're the public servant. We've talked about developments, which is obviously huge. Taxes. I mean, no matter where you live in the United States, like what happens from a business standpoint impacts your life. If you don't have these tax dollars, guess what? All your services start going down, from your schools to your fire to your police, your roads, like all of the area gets impacted.
And what they're going to do, if we're not bringing enough from the commercial or the business base, whatever, they're going to raise our taxes as citizens.
Right.
So you have a budget every year. Here's what's coming in with taxes. If that budget keeps going up sooner or later, and you're not bringing, we always talk about margin. Pastor Keith talks about margin. Yeah. So to create margin, you either raise the bridge, which is gather more taxes, or
more income.
Yeah, thank you. Or you lower the river, cut cost. Now, our city budget, I met with our city manager, was Pearson. He goes, okay, Rod, we can cut the budget. We can cut half of those, 500 lawnmowers we run every day, and those 25 guys that are out just picking up trash because people are calling in and going, there's trash at the intersection, it needs to be picked up. The excellence in our parks, all that. So you want to cut, we can cut budget.
Go drive south. You'll see what happens. You'll see what it looks like when you lower the budget.
There you go. So Frisco is an excellent city. We're going to keep it an excellent city. So let's do this. That's why we bring in an AT&T that's going to create $100 million in tax base, right? So my goal, really, truthfully, the city council sets the tax rate. Our county, they're the wonderful people that do the appraisals on our homes. Right? So when you get the evaluation and it keeps going up, now wait a minute, I wish I could sell my house for what the evaluation is, right? But that times your tax rate, that's what you pay in taxes. I write a big check every year. I'm proud to do so because I love the city and I love the way it's kept. So that's why it's so important to bring these large tax bases in, because that's where you get your margin.
The executive VPs for those large companies that make those decisions on where we're going to put something, of course, they're going to look at incentives and all of that.
Right.
But they also go and meet those city officials, because every plan's great. Every business plan is great. But along the way, after you start, things are going to change. And that means you're going to have a business conversation. And those people want to know who runs this city, that when I have to come back here and ask a question or make a change, are they going to be ridiculous?
Right.
And Rod's the type of person that can talk to those folks and like, okay, this is a sensible businessman, and this is somebody that this is a great place to build what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I talked with George Purifoy, one of my favorite people on the planet. He was our city manager for 34 years and 8 months.
So much for Frisco.
They didn't let him make 35. Anyway, he gave me an example when Nebraska Furniture Mart, before they ended up over there, he was courting them to put them where the Star is.
Oh, right.
He actually got the EDC to buy that property. He said, I think they're going to come. We got to have a piece for them. So the very last night, Nebraska Furniture Mart calls him, sends him an email, something, I don't know, but he goes, here's what we want. And it was like 40 years tax abatement. Well, he goes, no, I can't do that. He goes, I'm not going to make the taxpayers of Frisco pay for that 40 years. Now, if it's 15, 10, something like that. But George said, I couldn't do it, and they moved down there. Several of the people on the south side, even AT&T, Plano gave them some huge tax abatement. But why give away the property that we have? Sooner or later, they got to come. They're covering that property up. We're not going to cut some kind of deal just to get somebody to sit here that's going to hurt our taxpayers, right? So
okay, so we've talked a lot about the business side, and I can see, I asked you a question about what lessons you've learned, and I'm realizing, I hope I represent people out there because I don't pay as much attention. Garrett knows way more about this than I do. But when you start realizing, man, you're mayor, because we all everybody turns up for the presidential election, then goes to sleep for 4 years. That's the typical voter pattern.
Correct.
Because you don't really even know how much it's impacting you. So really hear what we're saying. I mean, because it's not like Frisco is a one-off. This is what's happening in local governments all over the country. Wherever you live, if you're in America, and I know most of our listeners are, this is what's happening. The people that are your local represented officials are negotiating business deals. They're determining your tax rates. They're managing your budgets. And ultimately, they're determining what you pay, right, in your taxes, not to mention the quality of the place that you live. So what else are you and that has a lot to do with more than just being a businessman, which you've got a great record. We talked about your excellence in Rodman. If you didn't listen to that episode, you ran a construction company and somehow had all your equipment clean, which next time you drive past any sort of digger.
A business that their job is to drive through the dirt.
Right, and yet everything's clean.
Mud, moisture conditioning.
Right, so you have some excellence and a track record to point to of saying, I know how to do things excellently. And you talked about keeping this city excellent. A lot of that has to do with business. What else does a mayor, what else do you do? What are the key issues that you're running on as far as managing in the area?
So here, we actually did a survey. I paid for a survey just to know where the people are. And the top concerns are traffic. The traffic's getting tougher and tougher, and we've talked about that. We're going to get our master plan built out. All the big thoroughfares. You still got a lot of your thoroughfares that are 4-lane that should be 6-lane.
Right.
So especially north-south, you got all this traffic coming from the north. When Frisco was designed, and I was on P&Z when we did the master plan, our thoroughfare, if we were just handling Frisco traffic, it would be wonderful. You'd hammer down.
Right.
But now
we're not. It's everybody north of us that's
even here in Salina and even north. Now you got Pilot Point, you got Aubrey. They're all now that 380 is about to be finished up. Yeah. Now they're coming that much faster to get to the tollway.
I live off 380, so I know that. Yeah.
So you can only
it's the spine. Everything's coming to the tollway.
Yeah. And the tollway now is just finished. It is 100% built out.
Right.
Got no more. Can't expand.
Oh, okay.
And people say, well, let's stack it like California. Okay, well, go to the end of the stack, park right there, and watch it back up all the way to.
No kidding.
Yeah. Right? I mean, you got to take it all the way through Dallas if you're going to help it. But
right.
Anyway, so it's traffic is a big concern. Of course, taxes always are concerned, and really the economical growth in our city, which that's where we can now start bringing these huge, great companies that are 100-year-old companies. I just heard Caterpillar is leaving Chicago or Illinois, and they're coming to Irving, Texas, their world headquarters. They've been over right at 100 years.
Wow.
Anyway,
Rod knows those guys.
I was about to say, if only we knew somebody that knew those guys. Yeah. Obviously, you do.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean.
So when those kind of deals happen, because the average person will see that stuff happen all the time. Like I remember, it made the headlines about all these companies leaving California to come to Texas. I'm understanding a lot more about it's not like they're just picking a spot and they're like, that'd be neat. They're meeting with the local officials. They're talking to you guys about like, hey, what can y'all do for us to incentivize business? Because with those companies, people got to work there. They got to buy houses.
Those large companies will spend millions on just a research study to figure out where should we go.
Right.
That's before they even talk to anybody. They'll spend millions of dollars just on a research study on where should we put our headquarters.
Right.
That's absolutely right. I was invited to the cigar bar. I didn't even know Frisco had one. It's right on the tollway. But Sapala?
Yeah, so Matt.
He did a kind of a mastermind there, and I was invited. A lot of entrepreneurs. The guy Jeff Kircher was the speaker, and he is the guy. He's basically the chairman that is bringing the Texas, exchange.
Right.
So they're literally going to start an exchange right here in Dallas, Texas. He said over 100 of the major corporations around our country are incorporating in Texas right now. And he said over the next 20 to 30 years, he goes Frisco, North Dallas, this whole metroplex is set to experience great financial inflow.
Texas is the new, and Dallas is the new financial sector. Remember, I had Texas Stock Exchange speak at the factory event for Union.
And I remember that very clearly because I was very interested in that. But I know that our listeners were not at the launch of your factory. So I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's kind of understanding how the impact of local government. So, Rod, I only have a couple more questions I want to ask, and then we can wrap up. But you talk about like managing all these things and bringing different corporations in. Like, you're a man of the word as well, right? And so, like, because I think it can be easy to go like, oh, well, that's great for Rod. That's great for what's happening down in Frisco, like, whatever. But what do you believe is God's desire for the church in relation to politics and, like, the church's involvement? Because there's a lot of churches that don't touch any of this. They won't talk about the big stuff or the little stuff.
That's correct. So I know Keela's been reaching out to see with some of our other churches if I could go talk or whatever. No. It's all kind of separation church today. We don't really want to go there. Let me back up just a minute though, and I'll tie this all together. So what people are concerned about is, I'm going to hit it real quick: traffic, taxes, growth, and then safety. And sometimes safety. Those three are very close together. You talk to somebody, safety's first. For a lot of people, they want the city safe. They want their children safe. Yep, right. And we're a young city. Average age, I think, is 34 years old. So a lot of babies, a lot of stuff going on. But with those three, then here's what's really surfacing. And with some people, it's the most important. The culture, the mix that we have right now. We're like 33 or 34% Indian culture. And we're not communicating. Most of the Hindu people, very friendly. They love this city. I was invited to a Diwali.
Oh, okay.
And first time I ever, Bert goes, it was Sunday after church, he called me, go, get your jacket on, come down here. I went to Kaleidoscope Park, thousands. He said, just walk in there and start shaking hands. Bert Thacker, he's Indian, served in our Navy, wonderful guy. Anyway, it's like, what? I had no idea. So they took me backstage. I stayed there till like 10:30 that night, meeting all their leadership. They're feeding me. That was my first introduction there. So now, everybody's screaming assimilation.
Right.
And there, as people like Bert Thacker, VJ Thardik, who is running for place 5 on our city council. He was the CTO for Procter & Gamble for 10 years worldwide. The guy's an extremely intelligent, sharp guy. As I get into their culture, they want to assimilate. They're just not sure how. So we kind of stand back, and they're kind of standing back. I said, well, here, let me give you an example. I went into one with 40 of them. I said, I'm going to speak very clearly, and this is who I am. You're going to get the truth from me every time, and don't take offense, because if we're going to learn how to live together, we got to be truthful with each other.
Yeah.
So they go, yeah. I said, okay, so let me give you an example. When I'm walking through Costco, and my wife's in front of me, don't push a shopping cart in front of her.
Right.
Stop, let her go by. And they go, oh, okay. I said, and when I smile at you, smile back. And actually a guy came up later and he said, well, let me tell you where we were raised. In our part of that country, every time, if we smiled at someone and showed our teeth, they would take us out the street and beat us.
Wow.
So we don't know how to respond. So we just look straight forward. So once you get to know these people, they love this. Oh, I was telling you, when I went to that Diwali, I'm standing there, all these thousands of people. They had the city council up there. Before they ever started any part of their celebration, they honored President Trump. They said the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the state of Texas. They sang the national anthem, a beautiful voice, whoever the lady was. And then they thanked our police, who was there, and our firemen for keeping the city safe.
Yeah.
So their heart, and then they went into who they are.
Yeah.
So just the respect that they have, it's there. Now, when you get into the folks that are governed by Sharia law, totally different take on that. And you know where we stand on that.
Right.
So that is, and right now our governor just said after that, our vote in the primaries, 95% of the people in Texas support outlawing Sharia law. And he said by next session, it will be outlawed.
It was a primary proposition. So it's information gathering on this recent vote.
Right.
95% said we don't want Sharia law in Texas.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And isn't it crazy that you have to say that we have to put that in law now because of the looking ahead at like what could potentially happen and the inevitability of what we've seen in other places that you
Yeah, well, the more I'm learning about Islam and the whole deal, the Quran, I personally thought, and this is ridiculous, my stupidity or ignorance, I looked at all Indians Muslim.
Right.
Yeah. Until I really start to find out. So, but they've got a 100-year plan. They're 50 years into it, and I have seen actual videos of leaders in the Islam world. And Dallas, Texas, is set to be their hub to take over the United States.
No.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen. But I tell people that's their First Amendment. Thank God we have the second.
Right.
That's all I can say.
All right. So, Rod, just and I remember I talked about the church. I want to hear what you think about the church involvement real quick, though, because I want to pull out the last thread of purpose, and then we can wrap up here with that. I want to find out about what you think about church. You're you mentioned guys like Bert Thacker, and this is what I was saying about purpose and like what you did with Rodman when you're building a company like that. You had no idea all the people that you're meeting. I'm kind of connecting the threads. You talk about Barry, you talk about Bert. There's some other very influential people in Frisco that you know. These are now people that you can call on because you were just being faithful with what you had and doing the best you knew to at the time. And you were very flawed, as you've mentioned. But at the same time, God's always working. So here you are developing relationships with people that now you can call on and be like, hey, I'm running for governor. Mayor. Would you back me? Yeah. Is that happening?
I'd vote for Rod for governor as well.
Well, yeah, so would I. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, are you seeing that God's kind of going,
Yes. So a lot of the folks, it's funny, some of them, very influential, they're going, make the runoff. and we're behind you. 100%.
Right.
And it's just something, prove yourself, right? Let's see if you can do that. So I'm going, well, help me get to the runoff,
Right.
But there's them, and then there are guys right now, I call them the Republican Guard of Frisco. A lot of the guys that were founders, with George and Dr. Reedy. I'm having breakfast with Dr. Reedy here in a couple of days. Jimmy Gaffney, who was on school board for like 14 years, back when it was solid.
Yeah.
Good old Baptist boy. Has Bible study at the Depot Cafe every Thursday morning if you want to go. But those guys are getting behind me. Lots of people. Here's the deal with the church. The church needs to so be involved. These folks, all this liberal stuff, it's like the woke. They're 1.5%, 2% or 5%, whatever, and their voice is like they're 90%.
Yeah,
that's all you hear every day. We go to church, we sit still. We're so busy building our wealth, raising our families, the American dream, the whole deal, and this stuff's going on all around us. I didn't even know to the depth. Once you get in it, what's going on around us? The church. What does Pastor Keith say? If 40% of confessing Christians were to vote, we would control everything. So we have got to get involved, and I'm seeing it even now. And I'm not talking down to anybody, but the real support, believe it or not, what I'm getting is not from the church.
Right.
I'm getting the strong support. Well, some of them are church people, but not our church, whatever. And I'm not attacking our church, but it's really people that, a lot of people are focused. What you don't know, you don't know. And when you know what's going on, it's like you have to get involved. I don't care if you're a church person or not. If you're an American and you're anywhere close to conservative, we better wake up, because the liberal side of this, the far left, they are hammered down every day.
Now, you said the runoff, and for those that don't understand how this works, can you explain what happens with like the runoff
sure.
and then the actual?
So right now there's 4.
Right.
There's me and 3 others, and just the odds of the numbers. You have to win. Say there's 30,000 votes. I got to win 15,100.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would
Then it would be automatic.
General election. I'm done. I'm in.
Oh, right.
But the odds of that, when you're dividing 30,000 between 4 people, it's going to be tough. So it'll end up, they'll take the top 2, and then there's a runoff.
Right.
Between those.
Okay.
And then it's one-on-one.
Yeah. Right. Very good. All right. Very last question, Rod. So for somebody, because like I love this is not what I love about doing this is I didn't know, right? Like I see you all the time, love you, give you a hug, but like we don't get to sit around and talk like this. I mean, you're busy. When we see each other, we're there to do some. We got some stuff to do.
That's it.
So for someone that's concerned, because I love that you were like, man, like I think about that. Who shall we send? Lord, send me. Right? Isaiah 6:8. People love that verse, and I think there's a lot of people out there. I would love if people that are listening to this sit up and go, you know what? I'm going to start looking at what's going on locally and like answer the call. Because you don't have to be qualified, right? God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. And so, what would you say to someone who's concerned about what's going on locally, but doesn't even know where to start about trying to make an impact?
So and that's why I know there's men in our church. Are you qualified? If you're a believer and you love God, you're a conservative, right? You want the best for your children, your family, our church, our city, whatever. Get involved. I mean, we need people to run for council. We need people on our school board. We need people. There's, how many boards there are that are appointed people. You don't have to be voted in, but if you have good leadership, we're going to appoint. We're going to clean up when we get in there, and you've got to have conservative control. But we're going to clean the boards up, and that's a great place for someone to start. Serve on a board somewhere, and there's multiple places. You begin to understand, and politics can be complicated, but how a city needs to run and its structure is not complicated. So anyone can serve. I mean, get in there, right? Get started. If you want to run, help. When I become mayor, we're going to go after. We're going to start soliciting people, just like they did me. We're going to get some folks that can make a difference and represent the kingdom. Let's get them in here and let's go.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say to people before we wrap up, or G, anything you want to add?
Go ahead, Rod.
No, actually, hey, get out and vote. And of course, I'm going to ask you for your support. But the main thing, get involved, because there's just like these council seats. It's really the council is more important than the mayor, because it'd be like Trump not having a House or a Senate. Can you imagine how miserable his life would be if it was all liberal? So get out and vote. Get your school board. You've got a lady, Misty Womoff. She's running. She's an awesome gal. Get in there. Our schools are in bad shape. You know, I'm going to give you one example. When I went over to, they honored the city council. The school board at one of these schools that's on the east side of town. I'm standing there. This little girl, 17 years old, walks up and she goes, "Mr. Rod, you and I go to the same church." I go, "Elevate Life?" She goes, "Yes." And I said, "Well, how long have you been in this school system?" She goes, "Well, since I was an 8th grader, and I'm a junior." I said, "Can you walk me into the library and show me a book on trans?" "Oh," she goes, "I can show you lots of books on trans." We literally have books in our public schools in Frisco that tell you how to have your genitals changed and cut off and all this stuff. She said when President Trump ran, they took all his books, turned them around backwards, shoved them to the back of the shelves and covered them up. That's in our schools in Frisco, Texas. That's what our children are being taught.
So we don't. It all comes back to leadership. It's a leadership problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when should people vote for you? I know that this. So people who listen to this way down the line, it won't mean anything. But for those who are local, when's the runoff and when's the
general election is May 2nd.
Okay.
So we've got like 5-6 weekends here. We'll be out block walking. If you want to help, come on. We had 40 yesterday. Some of the mighty men stepped in, and some people from the church. So, but May the 2nd is general election. Then the runoff will be 30 days after. So whoever's in there will hammer down. It'll be like June 2nd.
And so there's another great way that people can vote. You can vote for them in the election. You can come help support, and then people can also vote with their dollars. Rod, where can people support you? What's your website?
So Rod for Mayor or rodvilhauer.com. You put Rod Vilhauer, it'll take you to the website, and there's a place there to donate. Also, there is a place there that you can leave comments. You can endorse. I don't care who you are. If you know me and you're with me, endorse me.
Yeah.
And let me just say this before we wrap. A lot of you guys listen to this show, and I know this show has blessed you, and some of you live in all different parts of the country, and what we're doing in North Texas doesn't matter a lot to you. But it would mean a great deal to me and to Nick if people, you can just go give $10, go give $20. But if all the people who listen to this show went and supported Rod, it would mean a great deal to his campaign, which means a lot to the city that we live in.
Yeah. And I'll put the information in the show notes. But yeah, guys, so many takeaways on purpose. Rod, I love how you are stepping into what you suspected that you said you hadn't stepped into it. And now I love that you've God's taking you out of the desert. And he's like, "Okay, Rod, it's time." I'm excited to see what's happening for you. We're behind you. We're with you. We're for you. And yeah, so exactly what Garrett said. You know, if you want to support Rod, that would personally mean a ton to us. But also go out where you're at locally. Like, hear what Rod's saying. There are things that are happening that just because you're not aware of them doesn't mean they're not going on. And it's all public knowledge. You can go to a public council meeting and actually hear what's going on and have your voice heard. And I would hope that people, when they start finding out what's going on around them, that something righteous in you rises up, that you realize that you're called to display the glory of the Lord, that it would fill the earth. And guess what? That includes government. That includes everywhere you go, that we need people who know Jesus, that reflect his good, righteous, just nature, and can bring his goodness to the places that we need it, because our country, it needs godly leadership, right? There's so many scriptures on leadership. So, guys, I hope you're encouraged. I hope you're enlightened. I hope this makes you think and get involved. And this has been a special episode. So, Rod, thank you so much, man. I love listening to you talk. I love what you're doing, and just appreciate you so much.
Can I throw one thought? Pastor Keith about a month ago said from the pulpit, the stage, if we don't get out and vote and take control of what's going on, we will be living in what we are tolerating right now.